right, so this is the December regular meeting of the Wyoming Board of Education. We have been meeting, we did start our meeting earlier because we had an envisioning grouping of just the board members this evening to add to what everyone else in the community has been able to do. We got our chance tonight. So now we're going to pick up at recognition of the public. And we do not have anyone this evening, so we're going to go right into the board committee reports. Finance did meet this evening. Oh, this afternoon, I guess, to be specific. Finance, Johnson, do you want to?
I'd be happy to
speak on that?
Finance committee met earlier this evening. We had a 4:30 meeting. We have some standing agenda items. So we reviewed the salary and benefit analytic. We also took an opportunity to review the fiscal year 22 audit. Our fiscal year audit was recently completed by the, we aren't audited by the auditor of state. The auditor of state contracts out to a private auditing firm. So they've completed our audit. Happy to report we have an unmodified opinion, which is a clean audit report. No internal control issues, no compliance issues, no question costs. So a 100% clean report. So thanks to my staff, super proud of them, their work for another year. So that was great. So we reviewed all the audit components. We also looked in detail at full day kindergarten tuition that is on the agenda for the board's consideration tonight. So we took an opportunity to review those components. We also reviewed the 5-year forecast. The board approved that last meeting, but we had delayed our finance committee meeting because the board had the VSWC report early last month. So we were just catching up finance committee on the 5-year forecast. And then we also took a look at GCIC, which is our insurance consortium. We also took a look at updated claim information just to have some reference for the committee members just to understand how the health medical claims data was running in GCIC. That's
all right. Thank you. And congratulations on a good clean audit. Good job as usual. Thank you.
And that, you know, I just sort of want to mention in finance committees, we looked at not in detail, but just so the community knows, that is a report that's like 75 pages. It's a 2-part audit where they do cash and compliance review, where they're looking at bank statements and just so many things. And then they look at those. They come back like November, December and look at all the items. You know, receivable, payables, contracts, payroll, basically all the financial reports. And it just shows you how much work that is done by our treasurer and her team to keep the school on great financial footing. And then on top of it, to go and every year have to report in such great detail and then to come away with a clean audit is really a big deal. So it is expected, but also a big deal. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Citizens Advisory, the committees are working and I don't believe you've met, correct?
We canceled it on the 6th.
Go for it.
But there were they were having the facilities and visioning committee meetings, and then there was also orchestra concert. So the teams worked on their own versus us having a
okay.
meeting.
So we'll catch you on the next round. The belonging committee.
I'll take the lead there. We had we didn't have a belonging committee meeting. We attended the belonging inclusion collaborative meeting. They met on December 13th, and one of probably the big takeaway from the conversation was our high school belonging inclusion collaborative members shared their conversation from the November 20th Professional Development Day. And what they were doing is taking youth through student data. We talk about student voice and listening to our students and basically students telling us about what do they feel good about in their experience, what opportunities do they have in their experience, and what ideas do they think we can utilize to improve. So the high school team was looking at an individual question that they dug deeply into. I believe it was connected to student-teacher relationships. And so they were talking about that. Fascinating discussion, super powerful, and just helping there to be this dialogue between students and staff. It's pretty simple conversations, and just how can we make the student experience better and our students are impactful. We talked about that, even as we had that envisioning education session with third and fourth grade students, we can learn lots from our kiddos. So our, not in that conversation, but connected to it, our primary and middle school staff members will be having a similar conversation during the January Professional Development Day. And then we'll bring that information to this group during the board planning meeting. The next planning meeting we have is scheduled in February. So that will be a good time frame just to talk about youth truth data, why our students take that, what information that gives to us, and how we use student voice, is really student feedback through that tool to improve, really to make the student experience better. So it's a powerful conversation.
And just seems like some of, what I've heard from some of the high school teachers, is there's a real synergy in this area between the teachers, and they, through all the 1 degree shift and belonging and inclusion, they talk about, we really, the theory is great, but we want some tools in the toolbox. And I feel like this is really getting at that. And
Yeah, and kudos to the high school team, because they pretty much rolled their sleeves up and dug into the data and then tried to figure out what that said. And it opens up future conversations. It, specifically at the high school, that connected to flex and talking to students about their flex bell. There's just more and more dialogue between the adults and the staff members and the students about what's happening. And I think the more and more conversation there is, the more word knowledge and student voice, and the better we get because of it. And it's exciting.
Looking forward to the planning meeting where we kind of share and learn the day. I don't know how it's possible to summarize in a page or something, like what the essence or high level of the learning was from the different levels.
Yeah.
So as we come to that conversation, I think about the other board members who aren't in that committee. I think there's just a lot of quality content, qualitative kind of perspective, as well as some of the other stuff. So I don't know what the right level or amount is, but anything that's possible, as just even a couple day pre-read, will enable that 30 minutes, whatever we spend on it, to just be really important.
It's a good suggestion. Okay.
Great, thank you. Community engagement, this is going to be a big one. I mean, there is a lot going on. Well, we can start backwards. Saturday was for TC Mills, the it's more to go. The music department as usual, lovely.
Yeah.
JWC had laid up for you. I mean, those were school community, but with all the concerts and stuff, just all the holiday concerts. They're so fun
Including
to
the
see.
high school showcase, which I think is like the best tradition we've got going around.
Thank you for bringing clips. I think that's fun. So when we can't make it to all the.
Yeah, I
other
appreciate
meetings and the, video.
We finished one sports season and started another.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of things happening.
I will say, going back to the envisioning education conversations, we had a strong showing of across the board, community members, staff members. Students were very well engaged, so great connections that ultimately help us learn about what we need to be doing, so thinking about, considering our primary facilities. So that was exciting to see.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. Facilities committee.
Do.
Oh, okay. Sorry, then I'll keep going. Planning and goal setting did meet. You wanna?
I'll do that. So we met on the 14th. And another exciting piece, all of this, what I love about what we're talking about is this is all connected. And so the planning goal setting team spoke about our strategic plan, and the initial conversations from our design team were focused around how do we identify what success looks like. We know what the state says success looks like, but we're talking about providing a different foundation of academics and the support for this whole child viewpoint. So how do we show what success looks like within our strategic plan? So we talked about a scoreboard. We said we're determined as right now, the name is some kind of a scoreboard that we're trying to develop. And so we've got some initial work that's been done to create something that helps us to identify goals and actions that live within the strategic plan, that are well balanced within the strategic plan, but then ultimately help us to communicate with our students, our families, our staff members, and the overall Wyoming community to give us feedback on how well we're living through the lens of the strategic plan. So that is in work. And that's what we spoke about. And the next step will be to pull the design team back together after we return from break to share our current work on that scoreboard, if you will.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
A good example of writing a strategic plan and actually doing something like it. You know, so big difference. Policy review, I don't believe there's a report. And what about student achievement?
I'm meeting with DLT on Thursday.
So that's fine. All right, Board of Education report. The first thing is we will need a president pro tem for the January 2023. Oh my gosh, 2023 organizational meeting. We'll need to appoint one. So may I have a motion to appoint? Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Heather Lee.
All right.
So
So we have second.
We'll have to do them all at once.
Oh, you want to do it?
Yeah, we'll do.
At the end?
Yeah, we'll do 80, we'll do C
Okay.
approve the boards.
So our appointment is for Heather, President Pro Tem in January. All right. Membership dues. You want to talk about that? That's OSBA. And then we're ready for the motion to approve. So I think we already have the motion in the second, so.
I didn't hear the second, I'm sorry.
Either one.
Oh, yeah.
I heard
thank you.
you. Vote.
Okay. I'll mark you down as third.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Feldmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. G,
Yes.
Mrs. Zoller,
Yes.
Mrs. Broderick.
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, set. Treasurer's report.
Thanks, Jeannie. Item A is approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on November 28th. Item B is approving the statement of revenues and expenditures for the general fund for month end November 30th. Item C is accept with appreciation this incredible list of donations. You know, so many of our support organizations really stepped up in super quick time. You know, you win that state semifinal game on Saturday, you gotta move super fast to get a lot of things in place to make it to the state championship game on just the following week, 7 days later. So super appreciative of how fast our support organizations came to the table to help us have that opportunity for our student athletes. Item D are the appropriation adjustments for the month of December. Item E is the full day kindergarten tuition for the 23-24 school year. There's no change in the full day tuition amount. There is a reduced amount for families who meet an income threshold. That income threshold is now aligned with the federal guidelines of reduced free lunch, which is a good alignment tool to use. And item F is approval of the report, please.
Okay, I think we all want to say a thank you to as many people who helped us. Because this of all years, we had increased costs in taking our folks up to Canton, and I believe the money reimbursed from the Ohio School Board or school.
Ohio High School Athletic Association
Thank you.
significantly reduced, significant
Really
reduction.
changed the way we looked at things. All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report, please? Have a second.
Second.
Have a roll call.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. G,
Yes.
Mrs. Zoller,
Yes.
Mrs. Broderick,
Yes.
Mr. Feldmeyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. I have a number of personnel items that are being recommended for your approval. Number one is resignation of a staff member. Number two is the approval of athletic supplemental contracts. You can see those with middle school boys basketball, school and high school diving, and high school tennis. Number three is an approval to rescind a non-athletic supplement, two non-athletic supplemental contracts. Number four, approval of non-athletic supplement. Rescinding, three is rescinding those. Four is approving these new non-athletic supplemental contracts that you see there. Number 5 is recommendation to approve the latest Raptor volunteer committee parents, community members who have applied for that. And again, just a huge shout out to our volunteers. We are so successful because of this great partnership. So we rely on volunteers for so many things. Number 6 is a recommendation to approve an extra bell for 28 days. And you'll see there, Sarah Nicefelder's name is in a few of these just for support. Number 7 is recommendation to approve substitute support stipend. Number 8, recommendation to approve special education reporting assistance, all different ways in which she's supporting other staff members and students. Number 9, recommendation to approve special education substitute lesson support. And that's for another staff member, Sarah Beard. Number 10, this is a recommendation to approve second semester middle school math tutors. So these are staff members who are participating in the tutoring program after school, which is a huge value to our students. Number 11, recommendation to approve home instruction for these 2 staff members to work with students that have particular needs. And number 12, recommendation to approve performing arts events. These are in addition to events that have already been approved. And number 13, recommendation to approve pay for those 2 staff members who were part of that spirit bus going up to the state championship game. And we very much appreciate their willingness to connect with students and support them and help cheer and provide spirit. And then the last one, number 14, is a recommendation to approve this student auditorium worker.
May I have a motion to approve the superintendent's report?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
That's fine. May I have a roll call?
Mrs. G,
Yes.
Mrs. Zoller,
Yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Feldmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
All right, next we have an update on our nutrition standards.
Yeah, so you should have with you just a brief little report, or it's an annual report. State law requires that districts adopt and enforce nutrition standards that govern the types of food and drink that we provide and we sell to students. As you know, we contract with Milford Food Services. Tina Reynolds is the director of the nutrition services through Milford. And she provided this update. So you can see it gives some general guidelines on the cycle of how often our menu changes for students, what their goal is and what they're trying to offer to our students, and how they work with the district. And you also see in this report some of the data on the number of lunches and the number of breakfasts that are served here in the school district. Tina is newer to the role, and so she's excited to work with us and to continue to collaborate with us on what works, what can be improved, and how we continue to support the needs that our students have that are specific to Wyoming. And so just wanted to make sure that you had that report.
Can I ask a couple questions? In terms of the meals served, we only do breakfast in the middle school? Is that what I should read from it?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, I was gonna go back and ask Tina about specifically when those were served. I don't know. I think there were a specific point in time, but I need to find some more
During
data on that.
COVID?
It might have been.
No, wait, 21, 22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been. So that's the one question I have is what are those connected to? Yeah, some,
Normally, we don't have a breakfast program going in any of our schools, correct?
yes, yep. So I'll find more
21,
information about
22,
that.
these meals were all free.
True,
Right.
to
Mhm.
students.
Right.
yes.
Are these actual pictures from our?
I know.
They look good.
I know this one is.
Yeah, they
I
are.
know these are.
It looks like. So this is our high school. That one is our high school right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all right.
That was the pumpkin pie we had at Thanksgiving, so.
Yes.
Yes.
So maybe they are,
Okay,
Mhm.
you're right, sometimes I can't. think
where's the
beyond that.
taco in the bag?
That's a different day. That's a different.
That's Tuesday. Tuesdays, it's Taco Tuesday. Tuesdays, Tuesdays in
If I
the back.
want to have lunch over there on a Tuesday, then I have taco in the bag.
That's right, and I think I haven't talked about.
Mhm.
Fritos.
Fritos, with the Frito and the.
So you see. what we-
It's a hard question.
Never
Are there
had
any of the community discussions on buildings, primary buildings, anything come up by way of nutritional services, the need to reconfigure, redesign?
I mean, you were just, so I'll tell you what, one of the things we'll cover in the update, Susie has pulled together feedback from students from all of the different groups, and so we'll hear something about that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right. Forgot to put on there for myself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was waiting.
I know. Thank you.
Add it in.
So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
meeting on the update means.
Right, and so the state requires us to requires help with food service, because we contract with them to provide an update on currently what we're doing. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So then
Then we'll move on to your update then, sir.
So, we will speak to feedback. What we wanted to do is really share, since we are having the board envisioning education focus group today, we wanted to provide an opportunity to hear some feedback that we heard from all the other groups. But before that, just acknowledging that we are at the finish of the first semester, a pretty amazing first semester. From a staff perspective, from a student perspective, we've got great things happening. And as you know, we have started a new tradition in January and in May. We have these celebratory board meetings. And so at the January regular board meeting, we will bring students in, we will bring staff in who have received certain recognition just to share with one another. And it's pretty fabulous to have our young students there with our high school students all celebrating one another. And to film it and to let our community see that. So again, just one effort to capture some of the great things that are happening. So congratulations to everyone on a wonderful first semester. We're in the final stretch. Final cold stretch. It's cold, but it seems to be getting colder. I'm aware of that. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so that is that. I wanted to make sure we knew about that January board meeting. And then Susie, do you want me to pull the document up?
We can pull it up, or I can talk through it. We will be sharing. I'll take today's feedback and tabulating that in with everything else. But we have pulled together everything that we heard on the 6th, and we can share some of that out now. But
I have it pulled up if you want.
all right, sounds good.
So we just need to.
Yeah.
Can we?
It was a great day while he's getting that set up. It was extraordinary. And some of the things, and you'll see them, I was really excited kind of to get this secondary information that when we were talking about how to future-proof our kids, what they needed, people were talking about the attributes of a learner. And sometimes they were talking about it without knowing they were talking about it. And sometimes they were like calling it those words. And that just reinforced, I think, all the work that has been done that, we focus grouped that and we got feedback when we were building that, but now it was in front of different people too, and additional people. And it was really, really great to hear how that work that our staff had done and that community members had done, what they had built was then just continue to be reinforced by new voices that were around the table. So that I thought was really exciting. I'll just start talking and then we can, so first I thought our 3rd and 4th graders, what we did for all of them, some of the questions were a little different for our students than they were for our adults. But for both, we just had discussion and listened to feedback around some facilitated questions. And then we had the survey results. So just the big ideas to be able to articulate what we heard most often when asked what they liked about their school. The responses we heard most often were the playground, specifically blacktop, swings, inclusiveness, slides, and they like big spaces of the place. So, I mean, we did hear from Elm a little bit that like it could be bigger. And some of the other schools were saying, we really like how big ours are. So they like the nice people. And they kind of articulated what they were thinking when they talked about the nice people, their friends and staff, and the way that they showed that they were nice. And they also like their libraries, both both their big library and their classroom libraries they talked about. So when we asked how their school could be better, the responses we heard most often were the outdoor spaces. Again, playgrounds get a lot of energy, a lot of heat around playgrounds. So playground equipment also is what they were talking about. They were also talking about learning spaces and the ability to go outside and learn out there. So
I was thinking that tonight to say something about it, a learning space that was not just your typical inside.
Right.
Specials classrooms, we definitely heard about spaces for specials classrooms. And what we heard at Hilltop, that some of the students were even aware of the time that it takes for our teachers to build, like to get set up and tear down. Like they were aware, like in addition to they like getting up and moving around between classes, they were like, it's so short by the time they set everything up and then take it all down. So that was fascinating to hear that in those little voices. And then they also said that they would like more lunch choices. We could be better with more lunch choices.
Food.
Yes, it was about food.
Yeah.
Yes. So those were really the discussions that we had there. What are we doing well? What could we do better? And then the survey results. And Jim mentioned what that survey was, and it looked like this. It was it's pictogram, kind of view. Choose, I learned best by computer, teacher, book, or doing. And most said that they learned best with the help of a computer or their teacher. They were not talking about doing or by book very often, but those two were grouped together. There wasn't much space between them. So I couldn't pull out kind of what the obvious biggest one was. Those two were hand in hand. I like to learn. Their choices were by myself, in a small group, or with my class. And the vast majority said small group. Like that was surprising. I think all of us actually, when we looked at these, were really surprised that it wasn't, my class was not there, and my by myself wasn't really represented there. It was small group is what they were saying. What kind of seat do I like? They had lots of options: floor, chair, rocker, stool, ball, and lounge. And lounge and rocker were definitely the ones that they had mentioned. And then the kind of desk that they like, their choices were lap desk, regular desk, cubby desk, like a Carol, group table, or a standing desk. And they liked group table or individual desk.
Yeah.
That's what we heard.
Yep. So,
Our adult focus groups were very much like what we did today. We had the discussions, and then we had the survey.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we heard there was lots and lots and lots of different things that were said. So these are really what the themes that rose, but there were a lot of raw answers. But when we asked what skills will students need later in life, the responses we heard most often were social, emotional, personal skills. And it's specifically talking about empathy and resilience a lot. Communication skills. And there were lots of different communication skills, but it was very important. People were saying it's very important to know that I'm saying face-to-face, interpersonal. I'm not talking about just written word. I'm not talking about I am talking about, some people were also talking about presentation, the ability to communicate but it was mostly in-person communication they were talking about. The ability to work collaboratively, and with people that were different from themselves too. That's kind of a sub theme to the overall idea of collaborative work, and then critical thinking and analytical skills. When asked what Wyoming schools currently do well, we heard that we encourage well-rounded students, that we create supportive community within the schools, high quality engaged staff. Here's where, when they were talking about high quality engaged staff, that what they were saying, passionate teachers, caring teachers, respected management, and functional school board. Those were all words that they were saying that they were talking about. Some of them were also saying, well, so I only heard this one, but I heard apolitical once. I didn't put that down, but like there were different things, like people were definitely aware of what's going on out there, I think, and comparing their own experiences here with what they've heard out there. And then the high expectations was definitely.
Is management the specific school administrator or you all, or what was that?
It was, they were differentiating staff, teachers, administration, and board. That seemed to be the four groupings that we were hearing them talking about. So they were using the word management a lot. So that's why I put that there. I didn't want to make up words and say it's administrators, but they were saying management. So when asked what Wyoming School's biggest challenges are for preparing students for the future, it was limited space. And that looked a lot of different ways, but that was by far the biggest thing that they said. And there were lots of things that supported that. So you see all the different things that they were talking about. All of those were the subgroupings that really raised to the top two. We heard lots of other things in additional to limited space, but it was really around specials, small group learning, storage, and vehicular traffic.
A bunch about vehicular traffic, but that is.
It was talked about a lot. So, and it was talked about as vehicular traffic and both like drop off and pickup procedures. Those were like the things that were talked about hand in hand. Balancing student needs for technology skills and human strengths. And then that's where a lot of people were talking about the attributes of a learner, either by individual words of things that are on that, or by just saying, well, the attributes of a learner. How do we balance that with the need for tech skills? And then the idea of supporting staff and encouraging retention. And I think what I was hearing there was similar to what I was hearing above with the school board, that it was like people know that like staffing, there's a teacher staffing shortage. Like we want to keep our teachers and we want them to be happy. We want to like support our staff. That was heard a lot. So those were the biggest challenges.
And that's important to think about when you're planning space.
Mhm.
What is attractive to a teacher that may want to work here?
That's exactly what they were saying.
I get to collaborate with my fellow teachers, or am I kind of stuck in this space by myself?
And then when asked what physical features the primary school buildings will need to accommodate the future, more physical space was definitely by far the most, followed by improved security, then accessibility and traffic management again. So when we got into the survey, then same survey that you took, 89% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed that the way that Wyoming elementary school students will learn in the future will be different from the way they learn today. The same number, but it was a slightly different number, so it wasn't all the same people. But it just, there was a little bit of rounding, rounding up with the second one and rounding down with the first one was that 89% strongly agreed or agreed or strongly agreed that the way that Wyoming elementary educators will teach in the future will be different from the way they teach today. And then that last question about our elementary school buildings, as currently configured and operated, will support my educational vision for the future. 75% disagreed or strongly disagreed with that statement. Well, so there are still voices out there that are like, this is the way I mean, so like just exactly the way that we do it is the way that, yeah, so then when asked to rank those bottom numbers or the bottom learning styles, that is the top four and in order were collaborative learning, integrated interdisciplinary learning, project-based learning, and individual learning. And then the bottom four in order. So that's number 5, 6, 7, 8. was what they said there. So remote learning is definitely not what they want. Or blended learning. So that's the
You
feedback.
don't want non-graded learning either.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't like the idea of a K-1, 2 kind of thing that is non-graded. But, yeah, that's something else.
You're right. I think sometimes even when you're looking at that, it's hard, even though we know we're talking primary, I don't know, I can't speak to people answering it, but even myself, sometimes I'm thinking entire educational system
Mhm.
versus non-grading K-1, 2.
Mhm.
It was a different way to maybe answer or think about. I'm curious to hear them.
And
I
we'll
think if you really did ask people, how do you feel about grade at a certain age? they're like,
we'll work your responses into the surveys and all of that. And then this will be posted on the website.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for letting us go through it versus telling us what the answers were. No, they're like, it's interesting to see what they shared.
Right.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I haven't gotten Ilya's survey yet. I'm giving him all the.
How'd you do? Had non-graded as number 3, so it was in my top 4. There was some confusion about, there was some questions about that, but
Mhm.
that one in particular, does that mean that students don't get grades, or does that mean that students move from one grade level to the next based on skill rather than,
But that's more Montessori-ish. I mean,
Right.
But really just powerful conversations. And it connects all the work that's been done over the past year and a half to build a strategic plan. And to think about how that is going to inform the future, connect that with facilities. Everything is really moving in a good path. Lots of work to do, but we're having the conversations that need to happen, and we're recognizing that things are different. And I think the strategic plan put us in a great position to really define who we are and what's our future pathway, and let's live to make decisions in the way that we're doing. So it's powerful.
Sounds good. Is there anything else? Oh, my goodness. All right, I guess I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. And a roll call.
Mrs. Aller,
Yes.
Mrs. Berger,
Yes.
Mr. Ballmeyer,
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. G.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned.